Hey guys, it's Wahima, and welcome to Dark Skin Divas, a channel that supports you loving and embracing your dark skin.
Wow, well, I've always been insecure about my dark skin. I mean, all my life, I've just wondered, why was I born this way? I mean, why? Why did genetic chance bring me out of my mum's womb thanks to my mum meeting my mixed race dad and his mum meeting his mixed race dad too? Why? Why am I brown? But then I found Dark Skin Divas, and although I'm a man, I realised that this channel gave me something special, and that is... dark skin isn't really anything to write home about. But anyway, credits!
Hello everyone, this is Champion 90. Ugh! Damn it, I can't see a thing in this.
Welcome to my first Hot Topic video.
Oh, it's an honour. I'm so delighted for you.
So today's hot topic is, why is YouTube so white?
What?
This was a question that was brought forth by Meow It's Lucy and brought to me by Asante the artist here on YouTube.
Many Bothans died to bring this question to Wahama here. Incredible, isn't it?
Asante brought up the fact that some black people might feel attacked or belittled in their everyday life, and to come online and share yourself with the world might be a little daunting and scary.
Oh yeah, middle-class black people like you who have never really had to deal with horrible shit totally need a place where they can go and vent about poor people and how they hate them so much, and also how they dislike white people. But you know what? I'm not going to judge so harshly already. We've barely even cracked a couple of minutes, so please, do go over Hammer.
Meow It's Lucy suggested that it might have something to do with privilege and the access to technology.
Wait, so the reason most YouTubers, at least from America and Britain, are white is because of privilege and access to technology? You do realise that even a poor working class family can save up to get one computer, right? That already might have a webcam, especially if it's a laptop. This technology is easily available now. It's nothing to do with privilege. If anything, it's to do with population numbers, but of course, social justice warriors, everything's got to do with privilege, and the white man is always at fault, isn't he, hey? Just because they're poor and black, hell, even poor and white, Mexican, etc., etc., does not mean they cannot afford technology. You'll find that most poor families now will have access to a phone that would have been inaccessible 5 years ago, hell, even 10 years ago, to them economically, but now it is. You guys have just a stupid vision of the world. It's just laughable.
I personally think that both of these ladies are correct.
Of course you do. It couldn't be the fact that most people in America are white. It has to do with privilege and money and to do with access to technology, which everybody has, unless you're homeless or you are that dirt poor you can't afford one. But anyway, let's continue.
But I want to add to this conversation, and I want to expand this conversation.
Enlighten me, love.
So, to expound on the idea... Expound? Is that a word? Let me look that up. I can't just be saying things. You can't just be saying anything you want, Wahima. Bend or expound, which one is it?
If you cringed, you are racist, people.
Now, to expand on the idea that some people of color may not have the access to technology.
Who are these people anyway? I do know that African Americans do have, on average, a lot less income and are much poorer than white Americans and Asian Americans. But the fact is, how poor can they be to not be able to afford a laptop or a mobile phone? It's not impossible nowadays. There's a chance that they will have at least one laptop that they can share around the family, or if they're living on their own, just have one. Maybe there's just the fact that there's not enough of them on YouTube because population-wise, there's not a lot of you in America. You are, after all, 13% of the population. I myself, as a mixed race person, am only 1-point-something% of the population in my country, even though I think it's probably higher, but they're labelling themselves as other things, you bastards. Whatever.
I would just like to add that sometimes it's cultural. Sometimes the culture does not believe technology is worth it.
Wait, how can African Americans, at least some of them, culturally decide that technology isn't worth it? What? They would not be able to function in society without technology. That is absurd. Why would they do that? Are you trying to say they're primitives? Your own people are primitives? But hey, look, you're just collectivizing all of African Americans here, because as we know, there are different types of African Americans. Some of them aren't even African, some of them are Caribbean. Some of them may be Europeans who came over but are black, you know? They may have a different culture. Hell, some of them are Latino. aren't they? Like, say, for the Dominican Republic. I, for one, do not buy somehow, because remember, this is all hypothetical in her mind, that most African Americans don't think technology is worth it. That's bullshit. Because if they did, they wouldn't be able to survive in society. Really, would they? Or they would not be able to get on the internet and order the latest stuff from Amazon, you know?
For instance, I have a lot of people in my family and people that I know who don't have Wi-Fi in the house. To me, I think that's
Oh, God. You are just, cringy. Oh, wait, that's racist. Fuck it, whatever. I'm part black. Who cares? Anyway, what else? So what if they don't have Wi-Fi? Maybe they're old. I don't know. You're not specifying their age. You're not specifying maybe they don't have the money, but I assume they do because you seem pretty rich. Or maybe they're still stuck on landline, or they don't use Wi-Fi. They use Ethernet. You don't need Wi-Fi necessarily to run the internet, you know?
I personally think that having Wi-Fi and having your child have access to technology and a wealth of knowledge is more important than them having television.
You see, that's a very good point, but Wi-Fi is not the be-all, end-all, and neither is television. There's also books. If your child has access to books as well, I don't care if it's through Kindle or actual books, that is far more important than the internet. I'm sorry. It is well known that a child will be more intelligent and have better reading skills and critical thinking, all those important educational things, if there's books in the house. It doesn't matter about the internet. It doesn't matter about television, as long as they've got books. The internet may be a source of knowledge, but it is also a source of, distractions and entertainment. Like what we're on, YouTube. Do you think someone's going to learn a lot of shit that's important to living if they watch our channels? I don't think so.
Now, I don't know how it is in white culture.
Oh, you don't know anything about white culture, yet you're going to judge them anyway and accuse them of having privilege, and that's the reason why, for some reason, there's not a lot of black people on YouTube, even though there's millions of them. Millions, whether they be users or YouTubers, there's millions of them. It's just the fact that in America, you're a minority, remember? But hey, whatever. You're just going to judge white culture anyway.
But I do know, and I will say, that sometimes in families, namely my family, I'm wary to say that I am on YouTube because there is this idea that me putting myself and putting information and thoughts in my head out to the world is somehow narcissistic.
That has nothing to do with culture. Maybe it's just their personal opinions, or maybe you're just judging them and not realising that maybe they don't care. Maybe they don't care that you're doing this. And yes, a lot of people do these things for narcissistic reasons. Just look at all the internet feminists, at least most of them. Don't mean to generalise, but a lot of them are very narcissistic. Hell, you've got to have a little bit of narcissism in order to do this kind of thing. Anyway, why would you do this? It's like musicians, they wouldn't go up on stage if they didn't think, hey, look at me. Or an actor, like, look at me, I'm acting as somebody else, aren't I amazing? You've got to have that element of look at me, narcissism in order to do this job, you know? There's nothing wrong with that. And I doubt you really know what's going on in their heads. You're just projecting and judging. That's your insecurity onto them.
There's definitely an idea in certain communities that you wanting to put your opinions or your feelings forward is somehow lifting yourself up. It can be seen as overvaluing yourself.
Citation needed. You don't know that. You have no idea whether or not these communities think the way they do. You're just collectivizing individuals. These are individuals with opinions. I highly doubt most of these people care. They've got jobs and shit to do. They've got a life. We don't have a life, that's why we can do this. We've got the free time that they don't have.
Thinking that you're better than other people. Acting white.
Again, citation needed. Do these people think this way? I highly doubt these people think this way. I just don't think they'd care. Why would they care? How is being on YouTube acting white? It's just a website. It's a website like any other. Why would these people care? So many black people use YouTube. So many. Do you think they care? No. I doubt anybody is thinking that. You're just projecting your own insecurities. You're afraid that you're acting white and you're projecting those insecurities onto other people. Because you see, acting white is a bad thing to you. A bad thing to you. And yes, it's a bad thing to other black people as well. But they're a minority. They're a minority. They're racists. Okay, they're racists. You are just being yourself, alright? Just the sooner you get that insecurity out and you've got rid of your prejudices towards white people, which you clearly have, otherwise you would not think it's such a bad thing, the better.
Perhaps some of the real reasons that we don't see a lot of people of color on YouTube is because they just don't feel like their voices need to be heard.
I'm a person of colour on the internet, on YouTube, and I'm making my voice heard because people like you are making me feel bad and making me look bad. So that's why I'm on here. Apart from, anti-feminism and protecting nerds and video games from censorship and, actual prejudice from big media conglomerates, but never mind. Anyway, where were we? Maybe they just don't feel like being on YouTube. There's a lot of white people, more white people, who feel like they don't want to be on YouTube. And that's fine. That's their personal choices. If they don't want their voice to be heard, because somebody else is already expressing that, they don't want to be on YouTube. They don't have to be on YouTube. They don't have to be on the internet. There's nothing wrong with that. Jesus Christ. Or maybe they just don't feel like having an internet, and that's fine. If you don't want an internet, that's fine. Personal choices, but of course, social justice, collectivism, we've all got to be like that.
Or their voices are even valid.
You're just making a wild guess and assertion at the moment here. How do you know that these people don't think that their voices are valid, that they think they're invalid? You don't know that. You don't know that. And who's making their voices invalid? I can have a guess as to who you think it is, but it's certainly not me. And it's certainly not people like Sargon, who's actually a quarter black, but whatever. And vernaculus, etc., etc. But hey, what do I know?
That is something that is taught throughout the generations, and it's something that is taught by our media.
Citation needed, mate. Citation needed. The media at the moment is currently ran by extreme progressives. If anything, they are trying to get people like us into these positions where our opinions will be heard. They want our opinions to be heard because of quotas and the fact that they've got white guilt and all this bullshit. You couldn't be more wrong. Do you honestly think Fox News is the media? Do you think the media has some agenda against people of colour? Which, by the way, wasn't this meant to be about African Americans originally, but now it's about all of us? Really? Seriously? The media has been the most progressive it has ever been in, God knows, 20 to 30 years? And you seriously think it's against people like us? You're wrong, mate. Well, technically it's against me because I'm a dissenting voice. But whatever, I don't give a fuck.
Look at our representation in media. It's gotten better for sure, but it's not as much as white people.
This can be explained by a myriad of reasons. One, you're 13% of the population. They're like, 80-odd%? 90-odd% maybe in certain places? On average, yes. Black people, African Americans, earn less. They are disadvantaged more in society than white people. But Asian people are far more advantaged than white people and black people combined. Yet there's not a lot of them up there either, because there's not as many of them in the population. They're probably even less than black people in certain areas. Also, maybe personal choices. Most black people can't really afford to go to the schools, or maybe they choose not to go to the schools where they could learn to be a journalist or someone who works within the media. And maybe they want something that'll give them a good job. Something, say, like accounting or engineering or something. If they do choose to go to university, or if they get an apprenticeship, they want something that will set them up for life. And journalism isn't necessarily going to guarantee them a safe job, if they can even get a job in journalism. It's a tough industry to crack. Besides, the media is not meant to be about representation. It's about telling the people the facts of news. It's about informing people. That has nothing to do with race at all. It shouldn't. But people like you make it to do with race, and it's absurd.
White people are vastly overrepresented in the media.
Citation needed. No, they're actually not. They've got as much representation as you'd expect a white person to get. If anything, it's poor white people, the trailer trash, the white trash, who are poorly underrepresented. How many of those white news anchors, how many of those people in the top jobs, how many of those people who are currently working behind the scenes and on camera, etc., etc. It doesn't matter what area of the media you work in, because, the media isn't necessarily just the news, it's film and games, etc. How many of them come from poor backgrounds? Not many. Not many at all. I could play this game too, White people are not overrepresented. They're just not. When you have a certain group who are the majority, in most cases, in the Western world at least, those people are going to be the majority of the workforce and the majority of a ethnic group in a certain industry. That's just how it works. It's logic. It's not a bad thing.
They sell us anything from toothpaste to cat food, clothing to perfume.
Oh, I feel so sorry for you, middle-class black woman. I feel so sorry for you that the media is using advertising to make its own money. And it's just selling you toothpaste and perfume, and oh, it's so racist.
For those brave black people who do get on YouTube, there is a certain pressure to produce certain kinds of videos.
Oh, they're so brave. Oh, so brave. So brave. For doing an internet show. For going on YouTube and making videos. Oh, so brave. You know, it's just so brave. Oh, they deserve a 21 gun salute. They really do. What do you mean they're pressured to do certain types of material? This is the internet. This is YouTube. When you start on YouTube, you start with no audience whatsoever. There is no expectation for anyone to do anything. You could do whatever you want.
Personally, I feel like a lot of people of color may not be interested in watching me put on makeup or talk to you about anything, and they don't relate to me. They don't think that we can relate to each other.
No, you will not relate to everyone. Not every person of color is the same race, or from the same culture, or even speaks the same language, girl. You do realize this, right? They might even have different interests to you. They might be like me, who disagrees with you. And I'm not white. I don't agree with you, with what you're saying here. You're just basically putting all people who aren't white in the same box and saying they all think this way. They don't. They all think differently. They're individuals. Just not one massive homogeneous mass. They're not.
And that's fine. Maybe many would-be POC content creators are feeling like they have to be a little showboaty, or they have to give the people what they want, and they just can't come on here and be who they want to be.
You are asserting about individuals that may or may not exist. Look, I felt no pressure whatsoever when I was making my channel to conform to anything. I made the channel the way I wanted it to be. It didn't quite pan out the way I expected it, because originally this was going to be doing more anti-religious stuff as well as the social justice and political stuff, but instead it's been mostly responses to people like you, because you are the ones that keep consistently posting all this shite on the internet and it needs to be debunked. That's why I'm doing this. Gamergate inspired me. I know you don't like that place, but hey, whatever, you know. Without it, I wouldn't be here. And that was considered a privileged white nerd hate movement, which it isn't, by the way. Otherwise, I would not have been a part of it. I don't think anyone who wasn't white or whatever would not have been a part of it if they thought it was like that, if that's what it was, a hate movement, which it wasn't. It was a consumer revolt, and we all had a stake in it. Without that, I wouldn't be here. Why are you here? Social justice. You're just a useful idiot. That's why you're here.
Be who they really are, because it won't be accepted.
And now you're just asserting on other people's thoughts that they won't accept these hypothetical people of colour because they're people of colour doing their own thing. Nobody cares. Do what you want to do. Nobody cares. You will get subscribers because the people like you. They like what you have to say. They like how you are. That's why people subscribe, you idiot.
Now, I don't know how much of that is internal stereotyping, keeping each other down as a people, or if it has something to do with the media, or both, telling us who we should be, how we should be represented, and what we should look and sound like when we're on camera.
But nobody is doing this on YouTube. It's the internet. It's not the media. The media has literally no influence on the internet whatsoever. The internet is a wild beast that plays by its own rules. Again, you're just asserting. This can be dismissed without any evidence because you're just wildly asserting about hypothetical people. Hardly anybody thinks this way, and if they do, they're fucking idiots.
A really interesting example of this is how it works in the movies. So in Hollywood, there is such thing as Black Hollywood and Hollywood.
This has nothing to do with YouTube, and there's no such thing as Black Hollywood and Hollywood. There is only Hollywood. Black Hollywood, to me, seems to be a made-up term by social justice warriors who want to segregate everyone and make up problems where there are no problems. Maybe 80 to 90 years ago, when things were racist and segregated in the South and in the West, because I know California wasn't segregated. I'm just trying to, picture the scene here. During the times of prejudice, Maybe there was a black Hollywood. There were a lot of black directors and actors who formed their own independent studios away from the studio system. But that's no longer the case now. There's nothing like that anymore. There used to be in the 20s and 30s and maybe in the 1910s, but not anymore. That doesn't exist anymore. Because now, it's a lot less racist and it's a lot more integrated. This was the reason this has happened is because actual black actors managed to break ground in the mainstream. And also, I think it became a lot more acceptable for Hollywood systems and studios to just employ black people and give them better roles. You know, maybe attitudes changed, and attitudes certainly are a lot better than they were a long time ago.
Movies that have an overwhelming majority of black people in them are considered black movies. Whereas movies that have an overwhelming majority of white people in them are considered movies.
Only people that I've seen call them black movies are people who have race on their minds all the time. People like you, people like social justice warriors who are movie critics, call them black movies. People who notice that there are a lot more black directors and black actors and black producers, so they're deciding to say black movies, when actual real critics and actual real moviegoers will just call them movies. The reason why these other movies are called movies is because nobody is racist when they're talking about these movies. They're not white movies, they are literally just movies. It's people like you putting race on them that is doing it. You're the racists, not us. There is no such thing as black Hollywood or white Hollywood or just Hollywood. You're all just bloody Hollywood. You see, when those movies are imported to my country, we just call them films or movies, because that's what they are. We don't like to do that kind of shit. We don't do that.
We should be able to see whatever movie we want to see. It should be presented to us in the same fashion as all movies. One movie shouldn't be marketed more in one neighborhood to a certain group of people than the other. They should all be out there equal to have people watch them.
Look, this has nothing to do with YouTube, but again, they are marketed to everyone. It's just that one audience seems to like these movies very much, and so most of the marketing money goes towards them. It's how you make money. There's nothing racist about marketing to a certain demographic, okay? There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong. I do agree that we should, just put a movie out there, and if people like it, they like it, but that's what they do anyway. It's what they do. They do literally market to everyone, but there's always a certain market that wants it more than others, so they put most of the budget towards them. There's nothing wrong with that. All movies have done that. All movies are given that treatment. All movies. All of them. They're all made for everyone, but certain audiences like them more than others. You do realise that Hollywood likes to make money, right? And it's only your prejudiced mind that is thinking about all this.
And I know that Hollywood is just a money-making machine, and so a lot of times you want to just specifically spend the money on the people who you know are going to support your movie.
And therein defeats your entire argument. They want to make money, so they do things that allow them to make money, you idiot.
But the truth is that not many white people can even relate to a lot of the white movies that are out there.
You're just asserting, as usual, you don't know anything about white culture. You just said so, yet here you are now, thinking you know what white people identify in with white movies. Look, listen here. If it wasn't for people like you, there would be no such thing as black movies and white movies. There would just be movies that people watch. Just movies, okay?
A lot of the white movies that are out there are really portraying white people who are privileged white people.
Oh, you can talk about privilege. You're middle class. Look at you. The glasses you wear, the clothes you wear, the laptop that you have, your ability to afford a decent camera. You are middle class. You are privileged. Don't be a hypocrite. So what if poor people apparently can't relate? You don't know that. It's not about the riches and all the stuff that the people are wearing. It's about the story and the characters. It's about the situations that they go through and the emotions that they feel. In fact, you don't need to be a class or a race to empathise with a character or to hate a character. Do you think people in Shakespeare's time cared about that? No, they didn't.
White people who can afford to have a big lavish wedding and then at the end of the movie run off with their best friend. White people who can get stranded on a deserted island and talk to a ball for an entire movie.
That's not privilege. That's fiction, you idiot. And you know what? I don't know why I didn't skip this segment earlier, because it's just a complete non sequitur. This has no bearing on YouTube. Films and the internet and YouTube are just completely different things, and you just cannot compare them. You can't. Completely different forms of media. Just completely different. So anyway, we're going to skip the rest of it. It's bullshit. And just get back to the point. Sorry, people.
So sure, there are more white people on YouTube, for sure. And I think that definitely has a lot to do with the access to technology and the know-how, the time, the understanding and support from family.
Wild assertion, Hitchens' law, okay? You do not know the reason why there's more white people. You do not know that. It could just be population numbers.
And just the idea that you can be a part of this global and bigger thing that's happening in the world. And maybe some people of color don't feel they have that access.
You are again asserting you do not know whether these people, who by the way are different races, cultures, speak different languages, have different thoughts and feelings on the matters, you do not know that. You are asserting as much about these people as you are about white people, and that in itself is racist as well. You are not just racist towards white people, you are also racist towards people of colour who are all different. You see, this collectivization bullshit just kills her argument dead because she doesn't realise that there are different types of humans in the world. Amazing, isn't it? She has no idea whether or not there are more white people than Asian people on YouTube or Arab people, etc. She doesn't know that. You do not know the facts. I don't know the exact demographics of YouTube. So she just asserts because her ideology needs that assertion. She's a racist. So anything that can back up her racial arguments is just good for her, isn't it?
So now I want to hear from you. Why do you think YouTube is so white?
You do not know if YouTube is majority white or not. So please stop asserting and stop being racist. Anyway, that's the end of her video, and this is the end of my video. Stop being racist, people, alright? Doesn't matter who you are. Stop being racist, stop generalising and asserting, and use the facts. Thank you very much, and goodbye.